Freddie Potts has signed a new deal at West Ham United. This is old news. I'm not going to sort of talk about it too much. Obviously, very exciting to have an academy player such as him, who's very highly rated, both by the academy and the players themselves. But we've seen in pre-season so far that the youth and the academy are a big part of Moyes' plans. Now, I think one of my biggest criticisms of Moyes over the years has been that he doesn't give academy players the chance to break through to the first team. Yeah, I really think the academy is special at the moment. I think we've got some really good talents in there, and with the bids being rejected, we just sort of tried to sign Paulinho for £45 million. We're also in for Harry Maguire. With those sorts of bids getting rejected and the squad in need of a massive sort of rebuild, I think we should be looking towards our academy a lot more to sort of fill those gaps. And despite Moyes having the academy, because we've had three different scorers in our two games so far, two preseason games from the academy. We've also had 10 different academy players, or around 10, feature in those preseason games. We've got some very, very good players there. I mean, last season, look at what our youth team did with the FA Youth Cup. We won that against Arsenal. We also got very, very far, almost beating Manchester City to the Premier League under-21s or the Premier League 2, whatever you want to call it. We've got an incredibly good youth system. And to be fair, we literally just sold our best academy player for a very, very long time in Declan Rice for a record fee of £105 million. He came from the academy. He's somebody that came up through the academy, got his chance under Pellegrini, and ever since has been, irreplaceable at West Ham United. And I wonder how many players perhaps we've let go through the. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're on the caliber of Declan Rice. I'm not saying that they have the potential of Declan Rice, but I do wonder how many players we've let go over the years that had the potential to break into the first team. In the recent years, it's only been Ben Johnson and Declan Rice who've actually been given their chance and been able to break through. We've let players like Sonny Perkins and Ashby go for peanuts. Elise as well, who has been electric for Sunderland, a key player in their promotion campaign last year. And I just think we should be trying out these academy players. And Freddie Potts especially is a player that is very highly rated by both, like I said, the players and the staff. And the fact that we've got a new deal through for him makes me think that maybe he's going to be a part of some sort of plan. But with Moyes, he's very, very stubborn. He'd much, and it's it's not a terrible thing, because I'm not going to sit here and say that these players are, if you play them, are going to come in, hit the ground running and have a career like Declan Rice. Moyes would much rather sign a Premier League proven player such as João Paulinho than take a punt on someone like Freddie Potts. And I do get that or even McTominay, but because I do get that. And, you're not taking many risks if you're signing a player like that. But the academy is there to be used. Think about these players and the message we're sending out, that every single time a player even gets close to breaking through from the academy, we just go out somewhere else. I mean, if I was an academy player, I'd be quite upset if I was a West Ham academy player at the moment, because we just don't seem to give them any sort of chance. Even playing 4 competitions last year, only on the last game when we knew we were going through 100% was any academy player given a chance. When players are injured, when players are not playing at their best, I mean, you can make a case for any single one of those West Ham players last season, if you're an academy player, that you should be taking their spot. But it never seems to happen. And we've got so many good academy players. Someone like Ollie Scholes, who is just coming back from injury. We need a new fullback. I think he'd be perfect to try in at that left back spot. Someone like Simon Sawyer, who has I'd say shine in the academy and in the pre-season games, is someone that maybe should be given a chance. Dan Chester as well is someone who is looking very, very good. And of course, Davin Mubama, he's someone that we've talked about on the channel many a time. And if we were to lose someone like, let's say, Mikel Antonio, why can't we just say, do you know what? Let's give Mubama a couple shots up front. We've got Skamaka still, we've got Danny Ings if we need Premier League proven quality. But why don't we give it a shout? Why don't we give it a shot? I don't think any of these players need to go on loan. I think we need to play them. If they're not good enough, we need to not not promote them. There's very few West Ham players that have gone on to leave. Like Ashby, he didn't make an appearance for Newcastle last season, especially not in the league. Sonny Perkins, he might have scored in the FA Cup, but he didn't exactly, come in and save Leeds from relegation. So it's not exactly like we're losing these players and they're going on to have these illustrious careers. But perhaps they would if they were at West Ham United and they were actually being brought up well enough, if they were actually being cultured by our club. I just think it's just not very encouraging, is it, to an academy player? There's so many academy players at the moment that we could try and fit into our plans for next season, and it is a risk. It's definitely a risk. If you chuck in Mibama up front and he doesn't score for 5 games, that's kind of his West Ham career over in a sense. So I do get the idea of not trying to pull the trigger too soon on these players. I mean, look at Odebeku. He was hailed as this next best thing when we were struggling for players up top, when Antonio was getting injured, and we tried playing him. It didn't work out, and now he's fallen off a cliff. He's not really in any sort of plans. He went on 2 loan spells to Doncaster, to Huddersfield. They didn't work out for him, and now his West Ham career is more than likely over. So you don't want to do that to young players, but sometimes getting chucked in at the deep end is the only way to see if they're good enough. Maybe Odebeku simply was not good enough for West Ham United. But I mean, look at United. They chucked Rashford in at hard times, and now a deal's been agreed that he might be earning £325,000 a week. PSG are interested in him. He's one of Man United's best players last season. Phil Foden went through the ranks at Manchester City. Didn't go on a loan spell, just trained with the squad, just get cultivated, brought up, given the right advice, had the right names, right players around him. And now he's a brilliant player for Manchester City. And it is a rarity that this does occur. I'm not expecting Freddie Potts to be the next Declan Rice, even though a lot of people are hailing him as the Declan Rice regen. I think there are people in the squad who have earned their time, earned their place ahead of these players, such as Flynn Downs. I think Flynn Downs should be given a shot at CDM, potentially over Freddie Potts. I even think that why should Antonio lose out to Mibama, who realistically has not had the impact that Antonio's had on this club? So I do get the two sides of the coin. I really do. I'm not naive. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we should chuck in youngsters next season, but it definitely has to be said, and especially under Moyes, that we really do undervalue our academy players. Moyes would much rather go out and sign McTominay for 20-25 million than, say to Freddie Potts, listen, do you think you could fill the CDM spot for us? I'm going to play at CDM for a couple of games in pre-season. If you impress me, then I see no reason why you can't start in the summer. Does he not say to Mibama, look, Antonio might be leaving, Ings isn't really in my plans, Skamaka might be leaving, I'm going to let you start every game pre-season. If you impress me, then you're going to get a shot at, when we start in the summer. You convince me, I've got all this money that I need to spend, but I've got too many players to buy. Convince me that I don't need to buy another player. Convince me that you're the miracle. You're going to cost me £0 and you're going to come in, smash loads of goals for us. And I don't think Moyes does that. I think Moyes is either forced into playing the academy or plays the academy in the rotational games, such as last year, when we basically knew we were through in the Conference League, and he put in players like Ollie Scholes, who impressed and did really, really well. And the same with Flynn Downs when he played last year. I know he's not an academy player, he's a young player, but when he impressed last year, Moyes just went back to his old rhetoric, his old system. And I just really feel like this season, and I said it last season, my player for last season that I thought was going to break through into the first team was Harrison Ashby. And he never got that chance. He never got that chance at West Ham. And now we're potentially maybe looking at a new fullback. Could Ashby have been that fullback? I know he hasn't got the chance at Newcastle. Maybe he's not good enough. Moyes sees these players week in, week out. We just hear the hype of the club. We just hear, the pre-season stuff. We don't see him train week in, week out. But why isn't he being given that chance? Are these academy players simply just in for rotation, just in to make up the numbers? Are we going to give them the chance to break into that first team, to make that name for themselves? Because I truly believe that under David Moyes, Declan Rice would not have been given the chance that Pellegrini gave him. And we've just sold him for 105 million. He's arguably one of the best players, not midfielders, one of the best players in the league. And I can still say that with him in an Arsenal shirt. My West Ham bias is not just going to leave because he's changed clubs. I truly believe he's one of the best talents in the Premier League, and he's become from our academy. So I really don't feel as though we should be undervaluing our academy. The positive for me, like I said, is that they are being involved a lot in pre-season. So maybe David Moyes is thinking to himself, look, I've tried it the last couple of seasons. I've tried to sign these Premier League proven players. I've tried to deal with what I've got with this squad, and it's not really worked. Maybe I should be using these academy players to, create a decent squad. But I wouldn't read too much into it. I think most of the time, academy players do just get to star in the preseason games because they don't mean that much. And I think obviously the closer the season gets, the more we're going to put out our full strength team. Some players have been on holiday or in international duty. I know Vlad and Souček have just come back. Paqueta as well, I believe, is due back soon. So obviously that's another reason as to why academy players are featuring a lot. But I've always been a big believer in the academy, and maybe I just get too, drawn up in the hype. You hear this young name that's coming through the academy, and you instantly assume he's going to be a trailblazer. He's going to be the next Declan Rice, the next Marcus Rashford, the next Phil Foden, and it doesn't always work out that way. But just give them a chance. There's no reason why you shouldn't be giving these players a chance. So I really feel like this season, the players to watch out for. And I know he's not featured at all, but I'd love to see Jamal Baptiste as well be part of Moyes' plans. He is somebody as well that was held as a very, very young, bright talent, and he hasn't been given a chance at West Ham either. Him, Dan Chesters, Mabama, and of course, Freddie Potts, who I actually hope does get a good chance at West Ham. Another player, Josh Cullen, who was not really given a chance at West Ham, had a decent pre-season for us. He's now in the Premier League with Vincent Kompany. He was one of the best players in the Championship last season. Who knows what he's going to pull off in the Premier League? But will it be the case that we're looking at it next season thinking, damn, we probably should have kept Josh Cullen, especially in the midst of our squad at the moment with us needing so many midfielders, so many new players. So definitely a positive that Freddie Potts has signed that new deal. But I do hope that the academy players are going to feature a lot more this season. I think they've earned their right to do it. They were absolutely brilliant last season for the FA Youth Cup and in the Premier League. There's not a lot more they can be doing as academy players, and I do hope they are pushing to get into that first team. And I really do hope that Moyes does give them that chance.